Well, thank you everybody for being here today. It's a joy to spend some time together with you. It's always weird to me still doing it this way. I can't see you, and I know you're out there, but I am excited to spend some time with you. So we'll go ahead and get started. And like Jay said, any questions, please throw them out, and we can talk them through. So we're going to be talking about summer and homeschooling. I know I'm going to go back for a second. I know for a lot of us, summer can look different. And summer is often a place where homeschoolers might handle things different. And so I think it's a good time to kind of come together and as we approach the summer, think through those things. For me, I always about April, I'm starting to get ready to be done. And our family has always taken a break over the summer. I know some homeschool families, it works better to homeschool around the year. And however your family does it is the way you should do it, what works best for you. So I may be a little biased towards taking the summer off, but definitely agree that there are other options out there. So what is your summer going to look like this year? Some of you guys might have exciting travel plans or not so exciting travel plans, or travel plans that are waiting to see if gas prices cooperate or not. That could be a factor for us. Water stuff is often a big part of our summer, and I would be happy to be in any one of those places right now. Spending time with family can be a huge part of summer. Maybe it's family that's local, but you spend more time with them, or family that travels in the summer and comes through. And let's not undervalue or underappreciate the importance of that for our kids and for our family's growth, because God can really use those people, little cousins, grandparents, aunts, uncles, distant relatives that you never met before, to teach us new things. Summer's a great time for reading. For us and for our kids. It's a hopeful thing that we can look forward to. Even if you're still schooling through the summer, probably going to be a big part of it. And one thing I want to touch on today, and we'll get into a little bit more later, is a couple of really important learning tools that I would encourage you to think about over the summer, because they happen naturally, and those are work and play. And so sometimes opportunities for play and outdoor play for our kids, little, all the way through teens, and even ourselves, are more, they happen more in the summer because of the weather. And that can be a really important thing. And so that is learning. So we don't want to underestimate the value of that. Work. So I said work and I said play. Work is a huge tool of learning for all of us, for kids and for adults and for teenagers. I think partly because it's that hands-on thing, and for those who are hands-on learners, it feels so natural. But also, even for anyone, an opportunity to work out a problem in a physical way is a huge learning tool. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more. I don't know what your summer looks like. I don't have any of those exciting travel plans. I do, however, have some of these plans that are pictured on this picture, unfortunately, but they'll be fun too, and definitely opportunities to learn. At least a lot of mine is indoor, so it won't be hot outdoor stuff. And other things too. Activities that come natural to your family, fishing, gardening, music, all kinds of things can happen. And in the summer, sometimes we may have more time, and they can happen in a very organized way or a very just natural way. One thing I want to mention and encourage all of you, but and myself as well, is that serving is a great way to help teach our children and our teens and ourselves. And serving, sometimes we have more time in the summer. So a couple of examples came to my mind. Sometimes families have an elder that they're caring for, maybe siblings are taking care of an older parent. And maybe the summer is a good time for you to take your turn. Maybe it's a good time for you to give up your turn because you've done it a lot during the year. But that is a great opportunity. And I'm going to tell you that there are places in life where God really uses children in amazing ways, and that is one of them. And children can bring great joy in a situation where someone is very sick or elderly. They can be funny when everybody else is afraid to be funny. They can hop up on a lap when other people are afraid to touch. So teens sometimes can be afraid, and we need to encourage them and teach them that those moments are important and to be able to reach out. So, we look for the fun things in summer, but let's also look for the ways that God wants to use our family to serve. And then that lovely baby picture there, I don't know if other homeschool moms have had this experience, but I've had it several times. When you're a homeschool mom and people know you stay home, and it comes towards summer, a lot of times moms who are in a different position than you, and they may have to work full-time or choose to work full-time out of the home, you become an option, and they may ask you to babysit. So I remember very clearly one summer we had just had a baby in May, and some homeschool friends of ours had a huge life change. Mom had to immediately go back to work full-time and had 3 kids, and asked us if we could keep them over the summer. And we learned a lot. It was hard. It was fun. It was difficult, but we still talk about it. And here's a funny quote that came out of that summer that will never go away in my family. Even my adult kids say it sometimes. The littlest boy in that family used to always say, "I'm going to be a Christian robber." And we talked about that quite often, trying to figure out how the correct response to that. He was very interested in playing cops and robbers and was sure that was where his life would go. It hasn't, thankfully, because he is grown up now. But anyway, those opportunities to serve are super important. So keep those in mind, because sometimes those are off our radar. But the thing about summer is that it presents choices. I don't know if you've ever taken a close look at the Home Life logo that would be it'll be on top of like Apple Core when you're putting in your grades, or if you get some kind of a notice or document from Home Life. Under the blue part, it's under the Academy part where the letters are blue, it says choices in learning. And that's really such an important concept to the people who started and formed Home Life, to Lonnie, who's here today and has been here since way in the beginning. And we support families choosing what works for their family. And so there's no wrong or right or required thing that you must do over the summer, no requirement for community service or anything like that. But there's so many choices. And we encourage you to look at the options for your family. And you know what? Sometimes that option might just be not to plan anything. We support that. And we say, go, sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes it's lots of programs and things, but you have lots of choices. And this April, May kind of time period for families that just do school in the traditional school kind of calendar way, these are the time for those choices. I don't know if we have anybody on with us today who is a year-round schooler, but I know you guys are pressing through, carrying on important things, checking things off your list and continuing. And your main questions might just be, how do I record that? So, but how your family chooses to do it is important to us. I always think when we're planning and talking, it's important to turn to God's word. And this is the word that came to my mind for today. We look at the summer and we look at that time and we feel like it's ours. And it's a gift from God, but we know that God is in control of every moment. And so this scripture reminds us, to everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under heaven. So whether you are doing something very structured and continuing with regular, very traditional type school things through the summer, or just taking a nice, relaxing vacation, there's a purpose under heaven, and God's part of it. And be refreshed today. Be encouraged that it's okay to relax, and it's okay to plug through your summer as you had it planned if you're a year-rounder. But be encouraged that God is there every step of the way with you. So there's really two sides of the coin then that I keep bringing up. And you'll find that I'm a little bit biased, and I'm not shy about that my style has always been to take that summer off. So I'm talking about that side of the coin first. It's great to take time to enjoy, relax, and focus on other things. And sometimes we underestimate the value of that. But when you go back to Ecclesiastes in chapter 3, and you go through all the things, there's a time for this and a time for that, a time for this and a time for that. That truth carries through so much with our homeschooling. And so a very unplanned, simple, quiet Christmas break or summer break can be invaluable. Now, mom or dad, parent, grandparent, the one that's at home doing the work of the everyday homeschooling, yeah, it's really important for you to refresh and renew and catch your breath. But you know what? It's really important for our children as well. They need that. So even if you're schooling year round, finding that time for a break to relax and enjoy is important. I so appreciate this about school. School for me has always been something that started and finished, and you felt like, I'm done, start again. And I love that. As a homeschool mom, I've worked part-time a lot of our years while our kids have come up, and I worked in a hospital, and that never happens. You never have like, okay, we're done and we'll see you in a couple of weeks and we'll start fresh and new. It just rolls on and on and on. And I miss that about school. I love that part about school, that you really can have that sense of, okay, my kid doesn't know what grade he's in maybe, but we're done with first grade as far as I'm concerned, and we're taking a break and we're starting fresh. So you can focus on that new planning and that new preparation over the summer. You don't have to start right away. You can take a few weeks off, but that's a great time to clean, organize bookshelves, and start to prepare. My kids loved helping pick out books, and they loved being part of a lot of the things about getting ready for homeschool, but really they didn't want to talk about it over the summer too much. And still my youngest one that's at home, her tutorial just ended a few weeks ago, and I said something about next year. She goes, nope, not now. We'll talk about that later. She's going to miss her friends, but other than that, she didn't want to talk about it. So it's good to take a deep breath, and let your kids take a deep breath. And again, I encourage you, even if you're schooling year round, to find that 2 or 3 week break to give yourself that exhale moment. We always had big boxes that we gave all of our kids. We never lived in a very big house, so we never had like a separate room that we could give up for homeschooling. And so we just had tubs or bins that everybody got. It was a big deal at the beginning of the school year. You got your new one. And it's so funny to me, at the end of the year when we finally would clean them out, we would find I'm giving myself away. I'm not the most organized person. I'm always start organized. I don't always stay organized, but socks, old cookie. And so there's a great sense of, wow, we're cleaning up, we're starting new. And that can be a big part of summer for mom when she's ready, grandma, dad, whoever's doing the schooling part. And so those are good things. And if the kids are into it, great, they can join up with it too. But really, I guess what I'm just encouraging you to do is to step away for a little bit. Trust that learning doesn't step away. That's the cool part. And that's this little secret that us homeschoolers cherish in our hearts, is that the learning doesn't stop, no matter if we're being purposeful or not. It's continuing, and God is continuing to teach, and the world is, nature is teaching, and siblings are teaching. But step away and give yourself a break. I think if you look back, maybe some of you are already at that place where you're looking back, you'll find that to be a blessing, to give yourself and give your kids that time to refresh and renew. Okay, so this is not really my space, but I respect it. And I'm happy to talk about it because it's just as important. For some people, summer means the actual opposite of what I just described as how I have moved forward. And for some people, summer is buckle down time. And that's great if that works for your family. So for some people, summer is a time to say, we're just continuing on, progressing with the studies that we started, and our schedule ends August 1st, or however that might go, and then we start again September 1st. Some people complete summer programs, and there are so many out there, you guys, that it's even impossible to begin to list them. And it didn't really even used to be that way. And they're not all just for homeschoolers, but kid programs are everywhere. Teen programs, pre-college programs, and those can be a part of your school. So let's say I know in Tennessee, I don't know if everybody here today is from Tennessee, but some of the colleges, I know Bryan and Union have rising senior opportunities where they can go be on campus and knock out a few credits for their senior year while they're there, and dual enroll type credits. If your student is very gifted in music or very gifted in swimming or another sport or a craft, these are great times to let them really focus on those things and to buckle down on those things. It's amazing, really, if you start to pursue that and start to look into how many really unique, great opportunities there are. I mean, culinary. I'm fascinated by, I don't know if any of you have ever seen the folk schools that are around that have different times you can come for a week or a weekend or 2 weeks and do caning of chairs or timber framing. I mean, you could really broaden some horizons for your kids and enjoy some things that they might want to do. We'll talk a little bit about how do I record that kind of at the end, but all those things can count for school if you choose them to. So, but it doesn't have to, you don't want to get caught up in that piece either. So again, there's two sides to it. If you choose for it to count for credit, it absolutely can. Summer is a great time for dual enrollment, maybe just taking one class for a high school student that's just now starting to try out dual enrollment without a lot of pressure, something different and something new. And for kids that, Home Life does have a 3-year high school path, and some kids that want to graduate in 3 years or 3.5, taking a summer class makes sense. Doesn't have to be dual enrolled. A lot of families choose one course or two. We allow up to 3 over the summer, and if you need to do more or have a reason, I shouldn't say we allow, we recommend, but you could do more if it fit your situation. So you can earn credits. You don't have to ask our permission, and that's a legitimate option for kids. You might want to check with the counselor how's the best way to accurately communicate this on a transcript so that it serves your student well. But it's definitely, summer credits are an option. And then lastly, the thing that does come to my mind is that sometimes summer can be a good time to focus on a student that you have that you see a problem that they're struggling with. And that's a really fine line, and you know what's right for your student and what's not right. You don't want them to feel punished or why is nobody else having to do this, but there are ways, maybe continuing to read with them or to them in a fun way, math games, it's a little bit of a downtime that if you feel the need, it's an opportunity to find ways to encourage in that difficult spot. I'd be prayerful. Like I said, you don't want it to seem like punishment, but you do. Maybe grandpa's in town and he's really, 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 really a fun out loud reader, and having him read would be a joy and an encouragement to your student who struggles with reading. And that often could be the thing that bursts that wall of can't break through to start reading or something like that. So being creative with dealing with a struggling issue over the summer can be a good use of time. But buckling down and saying, here's another situation. We came out of public school, student had a failed course, we're starting homeschooling, and we don't want to fall behind. Catch up over the summer. That's a great idea. There are many options, and sometimes, even though I don't like it, buckling down makes sense, and that's okay. And you have the freedom to do that. And we can talk about how to enter those credits, or to show it in Apple Core for a younger student in a way that makes sense. I'll bring that up at the end. So when we think about how we're going to choose to use our summer, we might say, okay, maybe I'm going to try a little different than how I do it during the school year, but we're still going to do school. Or we're not even going to plan anything, but are we doing anything of value? Are we learning? Does this even count? Well, I'm here to tell you that yes, 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 yes. And I bet somewhere Lonnie's saying the same thing back there. They're always learning. They're learning even if you're not the teacher, and even if you're not purposely teaching, they are learning. God teaches, siblings teach, taking care of pets teaches, gardening teaches. So many activities that they're involved in, friends. And sometimes there are things maybe that are taught that we don't love that they learned, and then we have to deal with that. But learning is going on. It is happening. The big question, does it count? Learning can count. It can always count. And that's sometimes where the world doesn't understand us as much. People who don't homeschool don't understand us as much. But also it's kind of funny to me that we worry about that so much, because it can count and everything, but we don't have to teach our children that you get credit for every single thing that you do. And again, that's kind of a family preference. There are ways to count all kinds of activity, and I'm a huge proponent of counting all kinds of activity. But I wouldn't get caught up in trying to say, oh, you know, if people don't, we need to list this or people won't know. It's okay if people don't know every single thing that your child has done or learned. In the high school years, you can list things in the portfolio, but the beauty of what your student learns is the thing that they'll treasure and carry through their life. It's the things that God uses to form their character. And I encourage you to value that in a way that's not just about does it count. But over the summer, the things that you do can count. I have counted them. I'm not saying you shouldn't. We're going to count some things that my daughters do in this summer, put them as credits, but it's not the most important piece of it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So a little bit earlier, I mentioned work and play as being two tools that I hope you would reach out and use this summer, no matter which camp you're in, if you're buckling down or if you're relaxing. So these are a couple of quotes that I jotted down because I thought they were pretty interesting and encouraging. First one, and I didn't put the person they're attributed to, but first one is, play is the highest form of research. And I like that. It's short and sweet and pretty, I like it. And I wonder if any of you out there know who said that, but it's actually Albert Einstein. So who do we think of as a super sciencey science genius? Einstein. And what does he say? Play is really important. So keep that in mind and be encouraged by that. The second one is, furthermore, most children will find great satisfaction and demonstrate greater learning from things they make or do with, and I have to move my little box here, with their parents or other people than from elaborate toys or learning materials. And listen to this, because I kind of don't know that I always think about this or have always thought about this. There's no substitute for solitude. Solitude in the sand pile or the mud puddle or the play area. And this says for a young child, for specific reasons, for more imaginary, getting to use their imagination, for a young child to work out his own fantasies. That's true for our older kids as well. Yet this privilege is often denied in our anxiety to institutionalize our children. And I would rephrase that maybe and say, to make sure that our children are checking the boxes that society tells us are important to check. That one is from Dr. Raymond Moore, and some of you might recognize that name. He used to be called the father of homeschooling, and now he's called the grandfather of homeschooling. He's passed away, but amazing person, great. You'll learn so much if you ever wanted to read his books or things like that. He's amazing. But you can see from both of these very bright men. Dr. Moore was a PhD in something to do with education. I'm not sure exactly what, but he did a lot of research and things with children and came up with some great ideas. So this is the idea that play and work is a place where our kids can really, really learn. So what do we mean when we say that play is a learning tool? When our kids play, they can use their imagination and become a good storyteller, become creative, role play things that they hope to be someday. There's just so many, build friendships, learn that, climbing a tree and jumping on the branch and falling out is not smart. Lots of things that they can learn from play. Work, and I think a lot of people already know that and agree with that. The idea of work being a tool for learning, sometimes people haven't heard of, or they don't really grasp it the same. But it is so true. And I ask you to think about this. For you as an adult, maybe you've started a new job and have been asked to sit down and watch videos or read a manual, those kind of things. When is the day at that new job that you really start to get it? It's probably the day that they sit you in front of the computer and hand you the phone, or it's probably the day that they put you out on the line and the product is coming down the factory conveyor belt and you're putting your hands on your piece and doing what you're supposed to do. It's probably the day that you mix the brownie dough that they've asked you to mix. It's the day that you do it. It's the day that you are involved in that way. And that's so true for our kids. So we learn that way. Even if we're not that kind of hands-on learner, we still learn by doing. And that's so true for kids. So I'll just give you a few quick examples. One being, when I was a young homeschool mom, and now I'm an old homeschool mom, someone gave me an old book. So now it would be a really old book. And I tried to look it up and I could not find it anywhere, but it was called Work Jobs. It doesn't sound like a book about kids, but it was a book for kids. And it talked about how kids learn from jobs. And it would give you ideas like, and this was one that I loved. So I had a daughter who one time, she got fascinated by a key. And then I was looking in that book and they were like, kids can spend hours and they love trying to figure out which key goes in which lock and how to unlock. And so once she was old enough, I looked around and toys that came for that purpose were really expensive. We went to the dollar store and we bought a bunch of different locks that had keys and put them in a bowl, put all the keys on a key ring, which she absolutely loved having a key ring. And she would spend a long time looking through and remembering, did I try this key on that one? We would color code the keys and she would spend hours. I had a niece that would sit on the floor with a deck of cards and a basket. And she would take the cards and put them in the basket all face down, take them all face up, put them back outside the basket. She would organize them into piles. It was a process. But in their brains, something is happening where they're doing a job and they're figuring out what makes sense. That is huge. And you say, okay, well, that's little kids. What about older kids? Older kids the same way. And this is scary, moms. It's scary to me. And sometimes it doesn't. You try it, it doesn't work. But give your kid a job and don't tell them how to do it. Right? Clean out the garage or just even if that's too overwhelming, straighten up this shelf in the garage with all the tools and let them process, like, I'm going to do it this way, or I'm going to get buckets and put everything in a different bucket, or I'm going to let them work through it, because there is great value in going through a process and coming up with a solution and doing the hands-on to make it happen. And there's a lot of pride that can follow in accomplishing a task. So for older kids, it can be a lot of things, even to the point where they start working at a job. So for home life, a lot of families enter work experience as a credit. And sometimes people say, oh, how does that look to a college? Well, I don't know how it looks to a college, but to me, it looks great. And I think it looks fine to a college. But I love that people have are instilling in their child a work ethic, and that their children are going to a job and they're being given instructions and they're figuring out, how do I do this and what do I do? And I hear so many one of the fun things for me as a counselor is I talk to a lot of high school families, and I hear really interesting jobs that some of our students are doing. So work, let it be, it happens anyway. You have laundry, you have socks, let them sort the socks, let them make the pairs, which in some families is a very big, difficult job. It really is. Think about work and how you can use it to help your students learn something new. So that was a big one for me. I was so glad that my friend gave me that book. And the only reason I don't still have it is because it fell apart. Not because I didn't like it. It was old and it fell apart. These are just some more pictures, play and work. Earlier this month, I had the opportunity to go to the Teaching Them Diligently conference in Pigeon Forge. And I know maybe some of you were there. And one of the speakers there was Dr. Koch, and I had not heard her before. And I really didn't have the opportunity to go sit and listen, but our booth was backed up to a curtain, and she was speaking often in that section behind us. And one of the things that she said, I heard and took it home, but you know what? It has really played over and over in my mind and just has been grinding in my mind of something I'm so glad I heard. She shared that she wrote a book that's called How Am I Smart, which is I haven't read it, but what an amazing title. You know, our children are all smart in different ways. It's something about intelligences. And I think that's super important, that we see how God has made them different and uses them and their skills and their talents differently. But she spoke about a really bad shift in our society, a not good thing that has happened, and that we as parents and as families need to be aware of it. We're not really, I didn't hear the solution. She was not an advocate that said you should never have your children on a phone or a computer, but she was just saying that for most of history, for all of history, if a child had a question, or if a young toddler through elementary age, through teen, through young adult, through my age, if your parents are still alive, who did you go to when you had a question? You went to your parents most commonly. If not your parents, somebody who is like a parent to you. You say, hey, Mom, why is such and such? Or how did that happen? Or, you know, and it might be something super personal, or it might be something big, but they were your source of information. And now, for a lot of kids, and sometimes mine, probably more than I realize, and that makes me sad, but it's true, go to their phone, or, you know, people always just say, well, why don't you Google it? And so there's a breakdown in that relationship that is really sad, because you're no longer the authority. Not that we have to be the authority, but that familial relationship that God has set in motion. And that, I just heard it briefly. I was busy doing something. I wasn't purposely sitting down listening, but that has just kept playing in my head. And so summer is a great time to have conversations with our kids in the car, driving to Vacation Bible School, or to the store, or to a babysitting job, or staying up later than we usually do and talking. Be available. And a work play kind of scenario sets them up for that. Maybe they come to you and they say, Dad, I'm trying to make this go-kart go. And, you know, instead of looking it up on a YouTube video first, even with them, being there to kind of work through it and try to solve it. So I don't know. I don't have all the answers on that. And I don't know. But I think summer is a great time to reconnect and try to make, be aware of that. She even said, you know, it's hard to tackle this. It's hard to come up with a good solution, but we need to be aware of it, that relationship definitely has been molded and changed. So what kind of things might you be looking at in the summer? This is stuff you guys already know, but it's good for us to just talk about it together. Vacation Bible School can be a great opportunity to encourage your children in their faith, to have your older kids volunteer and be a blessing to younger kids. for you to volunteer together as a family. Summer camps and, again, college programs where I talked about some of these. As you're traveling, museums, cool places to stop that you see by the road. Sometimes, again, in our hurried lives, we don't do that. This is a great time to do those things. I don't know about any of you, but I am the worst. We moved to Tennessee. We lived in Florida originally. Most of our kids growing up years was in Florida. We moved to Maryland, and we lived there for 7 years, about an hour from DC. I am so sad at all the things we did not see and do while we lived there. It was not, we met beautiful, wonderful people, have great friends there. And but I wasn't sad to leave there. I am sad that I didn't go to Mount Vernon, that we didn't go to the Holocaust Museum, that we didn't, there's so much to see. I'm determined, we've been in Tennessee for 8 years. I'm determined to try to see the things. I have even been to the Casey Jones Museum in Jackson, Tennessee, and learned some pretty cool stuff there. Doesn't probably compare to the Smithsonian's, but it's pretty interesting. Take advantage of those local things. They're often free. Remember that you're a teacher, so you can often get a teacher discount. Some places have homeschool discounts. You can get a homeschool ID for yourself and for your children through Home Life. You can use your letter that shows your certificate of enrollment. Some places will accept that. So, there are discounts. Take advantage of those, and don't, even if you're not going far away, enjoy the things that are local to you that you might miss if you don't check them off the list, especially over the summer. We always loved summer reading programs, and our church in Maryland did a great Bible memory challenge with the kids over the summer, and those were always two really fun, great things for us. To me, some of those things have morphed over the years, and they're, not Bible memory challenges have not, for sure, but summer reading programs, there's a lot of them. Some of them I may not choose to participate in, or how they work, I might not choose for my kids. So that's something, they're out there, they're everywhere. And you can look into those and what one of those might fit well for your students. Kids who love to read are going to read whether you give them a summer reading challenge or not. And kids who don't love to read, if the award system for the summer reading program is something of interest to them, it might work. So you can take or leave that as you want. We used to do the Pizza Hut reading program, and my kids like pizza, so there was some motivation there. And let me go back. I wanted to share with you just real quickly. I won't be talking too much longer. That's the good news. And I wanted to show you, just in case, how do you enter in AppleCore summer credits? Because that can be confusing, and I just thought as long as we're here together, it might be good to talk through that. So here we see a student, and I went ahead and you can see there's several courses listed. So if you had a student and you started out the school year and you thought we were going to finish English 10 this year, your typical way would just be to enter the fall and then enter your credit and your grade for the spring and be done with it. Maybe you're a family that, I'm going to try to open this back up so it's going to work with me. Maybe you're a family that already planned to school through the school year and you're just like, how do we do this? You can just enter the same course all 3 semesters. Let's see if it'll get back for us. So you see we have English 10, English 10, English 10. Then you can hit that edit semester, pick your semester. For an elementary student, you can just list it all 3 semesters, or a middle school student, and give them a grade. And that'll show, that you worked on it all through the school year. And if someone wanted to see your records, they would see it, that it would communicate that well. For a high school student, you always keep in mind that a student can earn 1 credit for a core class. So you want to assign 1 credit for a core class. For instance, English 10 can't earn more than 1 credit. So you could list it fall. You could break it up any way you want. The smallest increment that you'll find is going to be a quarter credit. So don't be too concerned if you say, well, actually it was a third, and a third. Well, that's not an option. So you can go with something similar. So I just wanted to, this may be really, really self-explanatory, but sometimes we get these questions and I just thought it might be helpful to take a quick look. So you see this student then would have fall, spring, summer, and the course would be listed with credit and a grade for each semester, but not more than 1 credit. So that would be one way to take care of that. Here's something that I see that's confusing sometimes for parents. A lot of times parents go to enter a course in the summer and they want to enter it in the next school year. But this right here is going to help you know what summer did we do that and what summer do we want that credit listed for. So even though you feel like your student in this, let's say John Test here is a rising 11th grader, if he does some credit in the summer, it's still going to be listed for this school year. So for this 10th grade school year, I just went in, I added English 10 and gave him some credit for the summer. But he did finish his geometry during the school year, so it doesn't have to match up. It can be different. It's up to you. You're driving the bus. If there's a problem that we see that might cause him a problem, we would let you know. But that looks great. U.S. history, maybe he does it the same as English. Now I want to show you how if you did, excuse me, if you did want to add a course that he just did over the summer. So let's say he's going to be working with his uncle all summer long, and he's going to be working in the auto shop. So I'm going to list that course, and I'm going to list my resource. And I forgot to move this bar real quick. I'm sorry. I'm going to add that course, and that's going to be happening this summer. So that is the summer of this school year. I edit my semester, summer, give them the credit and give them the grade. Those summer grades, you can just be sure that they're entered. You'll not see a submit for approval for summer. So if that's confusing to you, we typically say that summer courses should end by September 15th, but you know, it can be blurry when you choose to give your credit, and sometimes our timelines don't fall exactly. But there won't be a submit for approval, but you just go ahead and enter it like that, and that's it. I just thought that that might be a little bit helpful, and where that problem with summer, putting something in the wrong summer, I don't know if we have any high school parents out there today, but if they're dual enrolled, you really want it to be in the right summer, so you want to make sure you're looking at the date and not, you know, if you need it to be categorized as an 11th grade class, there's a way to do that. We can add another place to do that, and we can help you with that. There was one of the, you also want to have attendance that matches. If you're showing that your student's doing school, then you want to add attendance. And so just so you know, and again, you may already know this, but just so you know, when you add attendance, there is a spot for summer attendance, and you can add days in there. So you can match up your attendance with your days, and that will work well. So I got out of my fancy way to show you. I had one more picture that I wanted to show you. And that's just my encouragement to you, that you, no matter if you're schooling year-round or if you're taking a break this summer and literally just really doing it the soft and quiet way, whatever works well for your family this summer, that you find time for yourself to rest. You know, it'll be there tomorrow, and some of the things we face as homeschooling families get pretty intense, and the world has become pretty intense. So, you know, don't be afraid to take that time and to rest. There you go. So I hope each of you does get some time for rest this summer. There's one other thing that I just thought of that I really feel is important. So I'm going to share it real brief because I feel like I've talked really long. There is a thing that you'll hear floating around out there called learning loss. And it's really talked up in public school scenarios, and certain researchers in the field of education. And they always talk about how kids really lose a lot over the summer. Should we not take a break for summer? Should we not take a break for Christmas? Learning loss, learning loss. They come back and they don't know. There is just as much research on the other side that shows that that is not the case. And that learning is a process, that is a lifelong process, that may be 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, another step forward, and fall back. There's some things your kids learn that they don't need, and they don't feel a sense of need about it, and they may not carry it forward if they got what they needed out of it. So the people that you could look up so that you could feel comfortable that that's not a worry are John Holt, who is an early home education proponent and researcher, but not a Christian and not a person that would fall in our kind of homeschool world camp. But yet he really researched children learning in a different way. And so he gives that kind of angle to it. Again, Dr. Raymond and Dorothy Moore would be those people. And Mary Pride is also someone that would be a good person to read, that would talk about not worrying about learning loss, that learning progresses. I say all that with a proviso that if your child has some specific learning disability and you have to do things a certain way, that may be different. But in general speaking, don't let that idea of learning loss get you freaked out. They talked about it a lot with COVID, so it's been floating out there, and I thought it was important to throw it in today. So I'm going to stop. Thank you for your attention. I count it a privilege to take some of your time and to share. I much prefer a situation where we would be talking back and forth, but I thank you for listening. So, Lonnie, are there any questions you feel like we need to touch on? Or Jay?
Hi there. Yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and formally let everyone know we don't have any questions currently, but if anyone has any questions they'd like to enter into the Q&A section, we will definitely go ahead and get to those on the air. And I'll give you all a couple minutes just to, if we have anything. But I just wanted to go ahead and say thank you to you, Marta, for time and for putting this really encouraging webinar together.
Thanks for letting me.
Yeah, absolutely. But if we have nothing coming in here on the Q&A, then I think we may sign off here. But I would like for you to go ahead and give, just here at the end, go ahead and give a way that people could reach out to you, or whether it's, you know, to our team in general. Go ahead and throw that out there on the air.
So if you have any questions that you would like to talk through with one of our academic counselors, we have people who specialize in different age groups. So we have elementary, middle school, early high school, people that specialize with struggling learners. You know, that's one of the huge blessings you have in home life, is that you have somebody who can back you up, get you some answers. If they don't know the answers, they'll find somebody who does, because probably somebody here does, and probably Lonnie does. Probably Lonnie knows all of them. So somebody here is here to help you. We want to encourage you. We want to encourage you to do what works for your family, not just what we think, but what encourages you and helps with your family. So don't ever hesitate. You can go in your account. There's a request manager. You see 3 black bars. The middle one says request manager. Under that's a speech bubble. You can click that and you can request to talk to a counselor that fits your scenario, elementary or 7th grade, or, you know, it'll break it down for you. Struggling learners, if you talk to a counselor, they'll direct you to the right person. But we really are here. That is, as someone who was a home life mom for much longer than I've been a home life counselor, I encourage you to know that there is great support for you for any questions, be they summer or school year or going to college or handling a kindergartner. We're here to talk them through with you. And my last encouragement to you is just to go and make some great memories over the summer with your family. Summertime is great for making memories.
I love it. Well, thank you again. And thank all of you for joining us. This will be up as video on demand on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/homelifeacademy. So go ahead and subscribe there if you haven't already. And I think that's it. So for Home Life Academy, I'll go ahead and sign off for us. Thank you all.